How was your day?
It was good.
What'd you do?
Drove to New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Well, we have that big meeting tonight, so you're gonna have to get off early later. I just hope that everybody at the meeting sees the vision the way we see it. You know, we need those key team players.
Ryan Gore, husband of Casey Gore. Ryan Gore.
I'm Casey Gore, wife of Ryan Gore, and mother of Jaden, Brooke, Ryan, Jordan, Christian, and Avery.
And a slew of dogs.
And a slew of dogs.
It's 6, so we have 6 kids.
So, I mean, Jaden was born on August 4th, 2003. He didn't give me any trouble. He was easy breezy labor, came out big as all hell. He was 7'12", I believe, 22 inches. So very, very long. We knew he was going to be super, super tall. He, from a baby, loved his cars. He used to call cars dots. He would be like, "Where's my dots?" So we knew early on that Jaden was going to be obsessed with cars. And trains. So Jaden grew up loving Thomas the Train, those expensive, fancy little trains that everybody's sons had at the time, and Hot Wheels. So he had like every Hot Wheel car you can imagine, all the racetracks, and very strong-willed. He started playing football at age 5. You know, and it was like the running joke, not a joke, but like Jaden was very strong as a kid. He has like these huge thunder thighs. It took 5 or 6 of the other opposing teams to get him on the ground, even at a young age. So we knew he had this like extra strength, but he also he was headstrong. Jaden was he was the oldest in the house. Always, you know, kind of like bullied the other ones around, and they were scared of him, and he would like force his way into situations. But he was known for that, and you know, I'm sure our kids now would just love to be bullied around again, one or 2 more times. Mm-hmm. But
he had a lot of love to spread around,
yeah.
man, and that was he was very as he got older, he was very more how can I say?
Just caring.
Very caring to everybody. Like, you know, they had, you know, my kids, they kind of like the same, like 2 years apart, and they were having plans on doing God knows whatever in 2021. But I wish they would have had the opportunity to do it that summer. Like you know, because Jaden would be driving the full summer, and they would be of age, like 15 years old, to go do whatever they needed to go do.
So I had to take off. You know, the pandemic happened, and then Jaden got sick in December of 2020, just out of nowhere. So, you know, he was an athlete. So on Christmas Eve, I was in the kitchen baking cookies like I normally do, and I sent my daughter Brooke upstairs to wake her brother up, and I said, "Get Jaden," because he likes to help bake the cookies. And she went to wake him up, and he was unresponsive. So she came and got me. I'm like, that's, you know, Jaden is just being Jaden. He was always hard to get up for school or anything else. Mm-hmm. So I went upstairs to wake him up, and there was something wrong. My son was not responsive. So I called 911, and 911 came. You know, initially we were like, is he high? Did he do something with drugs? Like, we didn't know. And so they rushed him to the hospital, where we sat on Christmas Eve, Jaden and I, for, I want to say 14 hours before any kind of scan was taken. And then they finally determined that they needed to do a brain scan, MRI, and that showed that his brain was bleeding, which and a little bit backtrack, Jaden, December 6th of 2020, totaled his Jeep. So I got the call from him in the morning that he had totaled his car, and I ran to the scene, and my son's brand new Jeep was intertwined with live electric wires, and the pole was on the ground, and it was crazy. He had fallen asleep at the wheel coming home from a friend's house, but he walked away from that without a scratch. And so when we found him unresponsive on Christmas Eve, we said, well, maybe something had connected from the accident, what we didn't catch. So his brain was bleeding. So they had to immediately that day on Christmas Eve, put him to sleep, put the breathing tube in, and transport him to Children's Hospital. So it's Christmas Day 2020 during a pandemic, and my son is having emergency brain surgery. So I FaceTime my husband and all the other kids at home. Jaden is in the middle of surgery. We couldn't tell them much, and I'm watching all the other, the kids open their Christmas gifts on Zoom or on the FaceTime, trying to keep my game face together because I didn't know what was going to happen with Jaden. And then, so he comes out of that surgery with, Jaden was really known for his hair. So he had curly, long, funky hair. And he comes out of that procedure with a tube hanging out. His head was shaved halfway, and the tube was hanging out from his head. And there was a blood bag connected to the tube that was hanging out from his head. So it's Christmas Day, and there we are, and this is what we're dealing with. And the doctors at that point had no idea. The surgeons were like, we don't know why his brain was bleeding. We can't tell you why yet. We have to wait until everything calms down within his brain. So that took about 10 days. So I never left that hospital at all to come home from December 20th till December 24th till January 26th of 2021. So I haven't seen my husband in person or the other kids in person for 30-something days, and just taking care of my son.
A South Jersey high schooler in the fight of his life.
Jaden Phillips is battling brain cancer. His family receiving the diagnosis just a few months ago. Action News reporter Katie Catro explains how the Delran community is going above and beyond to help.
Getting ready to do some college visits and trying out for some football teams, and yeah, right now that's all on hope. So we prayed over that and decided we were going to go ahead and do the surgery because there was no other option. And on March 3rd of 2021, they did a 9-hour procedure to remove his tumor. So they went in through the back of his head. The scar was like this long. That was probably the longest 8 hours of my life, just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. So they took the tumor out. The neurosurgeon was ecstatic. He came back and he said, I got the whole thing out. I got the whole thing out. And I remember him saying, I washed his brain. I washed his brain and then sewed him back up. And that always bothered me, the fact that he said that. And anyway, so we stayed in the hospital another, 10 days.
Well, I think you should tell him before that surgery, he was getting back to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like working out with me, running on the treadmill, squatting and running, driving with supervision, cursing at his brothers, playing the video games.
Yeah.
Just normal stuff, normal appetite. Mm-hmm. They come home after that surgery, and it was like every 2 days something was different. Mm-hmm. He was a little spaced out, coming home, and then next 2 days just wanted to lay down on the couch. Yeah. The next 2 days, no appetite. Next 2 days, and then the 2 days, 2 weeks go by, he didn't use the bathroom.
He had trouble urinating. So that was the first, okay, he's standing in the bathroom for a long time. What's going on? And I remember we had a normal routine, checkup, and Jaden and I got in the car to go to the hospital. And we get to the hospital, and it's time for us to get out of the car. And he's like, Mom, I can't move my legs. And I was like, what? He said, I can't move my legs. And I said, what do you mean? So then I helped him get out of the car. And then how if you're hurt on the football field, you put your arm around the whoever the player, and they help you. So that's what we were doing. I was helping him get into the lobby, and once we got into the lobby, he buckled out. And I had to catch him. And my son, 6'1", 200 pounds. So I scooped him up, and then I screamed for help. I said, please, I need help, help, help. So then everybody, started in the hospital. They started rushing over to help. And we got him into, the room in front of the doctors. And, the doctors evaluated him. We had to go through a series of more scans and tests. And it was determined that the tumor that they had removed was, in fact, spreading. So it was glioblastoma is what was his diagnosis. Glioblastoma is the most aggressive form of brain cancer that people can get. And so glioblastoma, if you remove the big tumor, it sends out shooters, right? So the opening of his skull to remove that tumor let the oxygen in, and it sent the tumor everywhere else. So the reason he couldn't walk is because the tumor was compressing his spine. And once your spinal cord is compromised, then, there's not really much that can be done. So they said he had to go through 6 weeks of chemotherapy and radiation. So every day at that point on, he couldn't walk anymore. So it started to get worse. He stopped being able to eat. So then we had to insert what's called an NG tube in his nose that goes to your stomach. And I was feeding my son through a tube. And my son loved to eat. That was his thing. I love to cook. He loves to eat. I'm still struggling to get back to cooking and my normal self for that.
So everything we had to go through, it was, I would keep doing it if I was ready to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I'm saying? Just all the cleaning up, the getting peed on, getting pooped on. I had to get in the shower with him and wash him up. I miss that. You know what I'm saying? Holding him on the toilet, like those are things I was ready to do for the rest of my life.
So the chemo and the cancer was just invading his body. It was in his bone marrow. And once it gets in your bone marrow, there's really nothing that they can do. The tumor from his brain had gone down his spine and then grew into his abdomen. And then there was a tumor in his abdomen cutting off the blood
The
flow.
circulation coming back up to his heart.
So it was invading his body. It was in his bone marrow. It was everywhere. So we were at the point where we were getting blood transfusions and platelet transfusions every other day. And then last week or so in January of 2021, I had to call 911 because he was just unresponsive. He had a little bit before that, he had trouble breathing. His oxygen level started to decrease because the cancer was invading the lungs. So he had gotten put on an oxygen tank where we were monitoring that round the clock, 24 hours a day. And then at one morning, his oxygen was low. It was 54, and it's supposed to be over 93. And I called 911, and we got him to the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, the doctor said he was in what's called, toxic shock. His body was in shock. We got to get him from the ER. The doctors were moving real fast. They were moving fast, and I didn't know what was going on. They were just moving fast. I stayed out of the way, and we got up to the ICU floor, and that's when the doctor pulled us into the big round table discussion, room to let us know that Jaden wasn't gonna leave the hospital. He wasn't gonna make it. So we called. This was February 1st.
No, that was
the day before.
So we talked to the doctor February 1st, and when you go through this and all the things she's saying, the whole time you have hope. So even up to the guy coming in the room, we're on YouTube trying to find different options,
Hail Marys,
just whatever. Just God give us a prayer,
please.
Answer our prayers. But the guy came in. I call him a straight shooter because all the doctors we usually talk to kind of beat around the bush, and this guy didn't. So he just told us, go call everybody you need to call.
No.
Right now.
Right now.
No COVID restrictions, none of that, because you already know. So at that point in time, I was still trying to hold on, being selfish, because 2 days later was my wife's birthday. So I'm like, I don't want her to go through this. at this time right now. You know what I'm saying? So, but when she, through this whole time, man, like, listen, I said it during the funeral, I'll say it till the day I die. She is the real MVP, man. Like, what this lady has done for our child is unimaginable. From sun up to sundown for 10 months straight. She did it, you know. But she made that ultimate decision on February 1st, 2 days before her birthday, to say it's time.
Because I prayed over it in that moment, and I said, you know, God, give me the answer. Give me the answer. And he kept saying, you have to let him free. You have to let him free. You can't be selfish anymore. Keeping him here on machines, getting hooked up to blood transfusions every day, and just not being able to walk, talk, eat, or barely breathe is not the way my son would want to live. Jaden, like I always say, is all gas, no brakes. Jaden lived every day, all gas, no brakes. And
he was a true free spirit.
My most important thing for me in that moment was just to let him be at peace. So I tried to maintain myself as calm as I could, and I just sang to him, and I kissed him, and I hugged him, and I told him everything I wanted to say, and then he passed at like 11:20 p.m. with all all of us there, and then you know, immediately the strength. I don't know what happened, but he's laying there and he had passed, and you know. We got to work. We put our gloves on. We bathed him.
Just like it was our normal routine, you know.
We bathed him. We put his nice outfit on. We did his hair, and we kissed him.
And then we had to. The hardest thing was just leaving him in that room, you know, by himself. It was the longest drive home ever.
Yeah.
We sat in the driveway for like 20 minutes, and we couldn't go in the house.
Yeah. But you know, like, and it's really sad, and I miss him so much. But what I can say is that ever since he's passed, there's this strength and this energy that I wake up with every day that just, I hit the ground running like, all right, what are we doing today? Because I want to make my baby proud. And it means nothing else means more to me than making him proud and carrying on his legacy every minute for the rest of my life. And that's what I have to do. And that's what he gives me the strength to do. He gives me signs all day long. And people from the outside looking in are like, Casey, how are you functioning? How are you at the gym? How are you doing anything else besides curled up in a ball? And I said, because my baby gives me the strength. He's up there talking to God. He's like, don't let my mom be down here curled up in a ball. That's not who she is. That's not who I want her to be. So, yes, I have my moments. I'm having one right now. But he gives me the strength, and I will see him again, and I believe it. So I'm going to carry myself, and it means everything to me to help other kids that are going through the nightmare. So the legacy, I promised him that literally while he was passing. I promised him in his ear. I said, your legacy is going to ring bells forever. Mommy promises you that. And what I mean by that, and what I meant that day when I told him that, was that his caring nature, his love for people, his passion for living needs to go on and be connected to his name and who he was forever. So the Jaden Strong Foundation is something that we founded the week after his funeral. And I couldn't stop thinking about it during the whole process of like planning his funeral and executing the funeral and just having all the family and friends around. I said, I need to get this foundation off as soon as possible. And people were like, Casey, just take a minute. Just grieve, take your time. But anybody who knows me knows that I'm all gas, no brakes. Okay? And when I put my mind to something, it's happening. So I got the idea because when we're in the hospital, the case managers in the hospital will say, how are you doing financially? What do you need? And at that time, I was unemployed. Not unemployed, but on unpaid leave of absence. It was a pandemic. My husband's gym was shut down. So we needed financial help. So through the the coordinators at the hospital, they would give you access to different foundations. So I had a whole list of foundations given to me that I could apply for assistance to. And I applied to all of them. And each foundation did something a little different. You know, some foundations drop off groceries at your front door. Some foundations pay your car note, or pay part of your mortgage payment, or pay part of your light bill, or buy Christmas gifts for every child, or whatever you needed, you know, at the time they would try to help with. So that's where I got the idea from. I said, I want to be this help for someone else, because these foundations meant the world to us during our time. And if it weren't for these foundations, we probably would have, it just wouldn't have been good. It's already not good, but it would have been a lot worse than it was, not having that support.
Through the whole process, we were truly blessed.
So our foundation website is www.jadonstrong.org. It's JADON strong.org, and that's the main hub for donations that could come in. Any, you know, no amount is too small. You can sign up to attend one of our events, or you can sign up to volunteer at an event, and just stay tuned to what we're doing. Our social media pages are also linked on that website. You'll know what the next event is. You can sign up to register to attend an event, which is also donating to the foundation, right? So we want to have you come out and have a good time. You know, for a small donation to the foundation, you come out and have a good time with your family, your friends, and then you're honoring Jadon's legacy, and you're helping us help other families. So that's the goal. You know, I envision that we have these events multiple times a year. We'll have different events for families to come attend. You can just sign up on our website, come hang out with us, have a good time, make donations to our website also.
Or if you know anybody that's going through our similar situation we have gone through, don't hesitate to reach out. We're ready to help. We want to help in any capacity that we can. You know, just don't hesitate to reach out.
Right. When you get to the website, there'll be a place for you to apply for help. If you are on that side where you are the family with the child with pediatric brain cancer and you want to apply for help, that's on our website too. And you can also contact us via email. So if there's a situation where we're not able to help in the way that you need it, we'll refer you somewhere that can, right? That's something we've learned over the past year of just gathering resources. If we can't help, we will find you somebody that can. And that's kind of what I promise to do through this foundation.